everyone, Pam Gregory. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the second half of December and the new moon that we have coming up in Capricorn on the 28th or the 29th, depending on where in the world you live. Now, the dominant astrological aspect for the rest of this month, and indeed up till April, is this strong T-square we have between Jupiter in Libra at 18 to 21 degrees of Libra, Pluto in Capricorn, 16 degrees of Capricorn, and Uranus and Eris at 20 to 21 degrees of Aries. So Jupiter is really expanding this transformative, that's Pluto, and awakening potential, that's Uranus, of your consciousness. And this Uranus-Pluto square has been running essentially for the last 5 years, and many of you have benefited in shifts of consciousness from this. And if anything, it's stronger at the moment because Jupiter is aspecting that square and expanding it further. So if you have anything between 18 and 21 degrees of the cardinal signs, those are Aries, Cancer, Libra or Capricorn, you might particularly feel this over the next few months running up till April. Now, Jupiter is the planet of joy, wisdom, abundance, personal growth, higher consciousness, and it's quite tightly opposing Uranus, which is about awakening. As I've mentioned, it's about sudden out-of-the-blue opportunities. It's about your superconscious. Uranus is sometimes referred to as the mind of God. So this opposition between them, which becomes exact on the 26th of the month, has terrific potential to really shift your consciousness, to really offer you opportunities which usually come out of the blue with Uranus. Things are all speeded up with Uranus, and you've got to jump on those opportunities quickly because, again, they may move away quite quickly, but often they're very exciting. So you get quite a feeling of fast-paced events, of excitement. You can have a feeling of liberation, of freedom. Sometimes it's connected to travel, but the urge is to throw off old stuck patterns and have much more variety and newness in your life. It's very linked to social activism because it's linked to your sense of idealism, and very often because Uranus is the planet of the alternative that always challenges the status quo. So you might find an urge to challenge some of society's mainstream values and are drawn to alternative ways of thinking or alternative ways of living. It's going to be quite a strong theme as we move towards 2020. So it's about innovation, it's about creativity. But what is very helpful as well is there's a positive aspect between Saturn and Uranus, a trine, which helps to ground that and make it real. So whatever ideas you're coming up with, it's important to put them into the world, because this is a great time to not only have the ideas, but make them very real and tangible. And this aspect is very interesting at the moment because we have some strong echoes of the 1960s when, I've mentioned in past videos, we had a strong Uranus-Pluto aspect then. We had a conjunction, now we've got the square. But we also then had Chiron in Pisces, and again, now we have Chiron in Pisces. So this is about, again, high idealism, driven by love, really. And it's about, just as people did in the 60s and had communities of peace and love, equally there will be an urge towards community. Now, whether that is doing something practical, tangible and real in your local community, helping other people in some way, or coming together to grow food, which is happening in a lot of places around the world, or whether it's linking together in a global community via social media. That's very much represented by Uranus. Whatever it is, there's the urge to link with people of like mind, driven by high principles of love and spiritual law. So really wonderful for that side of your life. In another sense, as you may have heard me talk about in the past, this Uranus-Pluto square in a global sense is about Uranus shining the light of truth, shining the light of honesty on any corruption or underhandedness or even criminal activity, that's Pluto, by large, powerful corporations. That's also Pluto. So whether it's governments, corporations that are autocratic, controlling, there is a challenge, an ongoing and even heightened, I would say, challenge to that kind of control, because Uranus demands more equality. Uranus demands to be heard. Uranus demands an equal voice. And because Jupiter is part of this T-square as well, that's about justice and fairness too. So it's very interesting. These next few months have got such a strong theme around these issues. But on the 29th of the month, the moon comes to exactly conjunct Pluto. So essentially shining a light on this Uranus-Pluto Libran T-square, Jupiter T-square. So it will highlight, again, those issues of power versus equality and justice. Just before we get to that, on the 20th of the month, Mercury starts to go retrograde at 15 degrees of Capricorn and continues to go retrograde until the 8th of January when it's at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. That's the galactic center. So I'll be talking more about that in the next video. But see where 15 of Capricorn and 28 degrees of Sagittarius falls in your chart, because that is the area from the 20th of December until the 8th of January you will be going back over. You have the opportunity to go back over that area. Is it in the 9th house? You're writing something and you need to go back over and review and reevaluate what you've done. Is it in the 2nd house? You need to review your finances in detail. It's very, very helpful for that. Also, between the 18th and the 20th of the month, Mercury is conjunct Pluto. Now, this can be powerful words, can be very strong, but I think also we'll be very aware of thinking of the power of our thinking and what our thoughts and words, the power of our thoughts and words in creating our reality. So become very aware, sort of become an observer of your thoughts and words and how strong they are in creating your day-to-day reality. Then on the 21st of the month, we have the Capricorn Solstice. This is where the sun moves into Capricorn. Now, these are very important times because there's actually, at a solstice, there's actually a shift in the electromagnetic field of the Earth. And we as humans on some level sense that. We sense the veil thinning. Sensitive people can get access to more information from a higher source. So really tune in, particularly the day before, the day of, and the day after. It straddles 3 days, that electromagnetic shift. And just see if you can just find a place of peace to tune in to that solstice, because the equinoxes and the solstices act like tuning forks. They sort of set a tone for the next 3 months. And here, again, it's very much about power and the power of words, because Mercury is conjunct Pluto at this solstice. Also, Mars is in aspect to Pluto. So that is assertive power, willpower. It's very strong. So we may be observing this in the world because the opposition between Jupiter and Uranus falls in terms of astrocartography across Russia, Ukraine, Turkey and the Middle East. So we may see them continuing to be in the news, or even more in the news than they are already. So it's about power, but it's also about becoming aware of our own power, our own centre of power, to release any victim consciousness we may have and to become much more aware of becoming a creator in our lives. And this theme is really continued at the new moon. Now, the new moon is at 7:59 of Capricorn, so essentially it's 8 degrees of Capricorn. It happens on the 28th of the month. Pacific time, it happens at 10:53 p.m. and then 6:53 a.m. UK time the next day on the 29th. So the sun and moon are always together at a new moon. So this is always a new beginning. So see where 8 degrees of Capricorn falls in your chart, because that is going to represent a new beginning, whether it's an idea, a thought, a phone call, whatever it is, a meeting that can actually sow a seed to prompt something in your life which will evolve over time. So see where that falls in your chart. The sun and moon are also conjunct Pluto, again in Capricorn, widely conjunct, but nevertheless conjunct. So again, this raises issues of power. And because it's in Capricorn, Capricorn is about the structures in society, like the banking system, like governments, like big corporations. So again, become the observer of how power works in society and how we can so achieve a greater level of power in our own lives if we operate from our centres, rather than just feeling we're buffeted by external events and rules and regulations. I think these are going to be very, very strong themes. And as I mentioned earlier, on the 29th of the month, the moon becomes exact with Pluto, shining a light on the Pluto, Uranus, Jupiter T-square. So you may feel that you want to speak out powerfully about issues of equality, that's Uranus, and justice, that's Jupiter in Libra, or you may be hearing very powerful voices in the world as well. So all around issues of where does the power lie for you in your life? Does it lie in external authority, or does it lie within yourself? But the 29th will be a strong day, because we don't just have those intense feelings when the moon and Pluto come together. You get very strong feelings by people. We also have Uranus becoming stationary direct that day. And whenever a planet is stationary, its symbolism is highlighted. So Uranus is about surprises, shocks, eruptive, revolutionary power. So around that day, because of where the moon is highlighting that T-square, and because Uranus is stationary, there might be some very strong things happening in the world, some very surprising things happening in the world around the 29th. But then on the 30th, we have Mars coming together with Neptune at 9 degrees of Pisces on the 30th. And this is about compassion. This is about energizing your idealism and energizing your spiritual goals. So this is a really great day to write your New Year's resolutions. So a lot is happening this month, but actually it's part of a continuing trend, much of it, towards April, and indeed setting up some themes for 2022. So see where this new moon at 8 degrees of Capricorn falls in your chart. If you don't know where it falls, check out the link appearing above me. You can go to my store, buy a 2-part tutorial video series, which will really explain very simply and clearly how you find this and what it means for you. So, and if you'd like more information about my book, my audiobook, my monthly newsletter of around 6,000 words, just check out my website, pamgregory.com, or thenextstep.uk.com. Thanks so much for listening, and if you're listening to this in mid-December, have a wonderful holiday season, and thank you to you all. Take care.